Do you smell what the hitman is cooking? All right, all right. So I wanted to talk about The Rock and this recent new angle that's been developing. This whole, hashtag we want Cody and The Rock angle that's been happening, and obviously with Roman Reigns. But before I get into it, I just wanted to say again, please consider subscribing to my channel if you like the content that I'm putting out. Like I mentioned in other videos, this is kind of like my escape. I like to have a lot of conversations with you guys. I cover a lot of stuff here. I cover anime, I cover movies, I cover pop culture, wrestling. So, if you like any of these topics, consider liking this video and subscribing. It really helps me out and helps motivate me in wanting to dish out some additional content. I've actually met a lot of interesting people and awesome people since I've started this channel. So I want to continue that exposure so that I can continue to have awesome discussions, which is really what I want to do. So, really appreciate it. So thanks again. Now, as we get into it, I wanted to make this more of a prediction video. So even though I am going to be referencing what happened on SmackDown this last Friday, I'm not really going to be discussing the show. It was a great show. So, if you saw it, I recommend, you go check it out if you didn't. But if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. But it had been teased that The Rock and Roman were going to make an appearance this Friday, which was super hyped because the last appearance that we had seen them was in the WrestleMania press conference over there in Vegas. And we kind of just saw everything completely turn really do like a 180, and I think WWE did a phenomenal job. It was a twist. It was something that we had kind of speculated, but I think the way they handled it was just great. I'm at a point where I'm not even bothered with what happened a few weeks ago. And for those of you that don't know, what had happened was the main, I guess, sort of direction was going to be Cody gives up his slot to basically The Rock so that The Rock can face Roman Reigns over there at WrestleMania, and then Cody was going to settle for Seth Rollins, which everybody had issues with, even myself. Again, here's the thing: I like Seth Rollins and all. I'm not one of his biggest fans, if I'm being honest, but I just felt it wasn't going to be very iconic, right? Because you have Cody over here who literally has beaten everybody. I mean, he's beaten Rollins before, so it was kind of, I don't know. It was a little bit underwhelming. But anyways, what we have now is basically The Rock basically giving that those hints of him turning heel, especially at the WrestleMania press conference. So in this last Friday's SmackDown, the transformation is complete. The Rock has gone full heel, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to kind of get some of your opinions and kind of tell you what some of my thoughts and some of my predictions are. But again, feel free to comment. Like I said, I read every comment, especially right now since my channel is pretty small. I only have over 150 subs or so, so I can definitely get to all comments and I reply as they come in. So yeah, definitely comment. But so right now the way it's looking is The Rock is sort of he is in the bloodline. You had Roman come out. Roman Reigns came out, did a good little entrance. He flexed his little forearm and basically flat out told us The Rock is in the bloodline. So then The Rock comes out with his, traditional music. I actually was hoping they would do like a little tweak or do like a little variation of Hollywood rock. Like for those of you that, been watching wrestling for a long time, back in 03 when it was Hollywood rock and he had that little entrance with the helicopter and as it's looking over the city and then you just hear, I was hoping they would do something like that, but I guess they wanted The Rock they didn't want to just cement it like that out of the norm where, hey, he's a heel now. They wanted The Rock's promo to kind of do that for him. And it was a phenomenal promo. Look, The Rock is my favorite wrestler of all time. And I don't change. Like I'm as real as it gets, same thing with like my teams, Denver Broncos. I've been a Denver Broncos fan since I was 4 years old. I'm not even kidding. I don't change teams. I'm not BSing you here. The Rock is legitimately my favorite wrestler of all time. I stopped watching wrestling when I was young because The Rock stopped coming out. So I'm the real deal. So I'm telling you this, I'm biased. Even though The Rock is my favorite, it was a damn good promo. And again, The Rock is just super entertaining. And I think that's why he's always been my favorite. When that guy's on the mic, even though I know people say, Cena and, Punk are better in the mic. They annihilate The Rock. That's fine, dude. Like, to me, bro, being on the mic isn't just schooling the other person in a battle. Like, being entertaining gets a lot of points for me. And I think The Rock is just really, really entertaining. Like, yeah, you know what? I'll give you that. Cena's probably a better mic worker when it comes to a brawl of words, right? But when it comes to entertainment, I'm sorry. Like, I give it to The Rock, and maybe I'm being biased, whatever you want. Again, I'm not a Cena boy. I like Cena. I like Punk, but I just think The Rock is just so entertaining. And I think he really got out of his shell on this promo. He was talking smack to the audience, calling him a bunch of things. And it was a great promo. And then I loved it at the end because it was something so obvious, but I just didn't see it coming. And for most of it, I think it's because I'm just kind of letting this ride take itself on me. I'm just enjoying the ride as it goes. So I'm not really thinking too much about it when I'm watching. It's kind of like, let me turn on the TV. Okay, take me for a ride. I'm ready. So at the end, he kind of just finished it with his, do you smell? But instead of saying what The Rock is cooking, he said what the bloodline is cooking. So pretty much obvious The Rock's in the bloodline. So what I wanted to talk about is, where do we go from here? What's going to happen? Obviously, we know it's Cody versus Roman at Mania, but one of the things that The Rock mentioned in his promo was that he's going to do everything that he can to basically mess up Cody, to interfere. So that just leaves a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of speculation going on. Again, I recommend you go see the segment if you haven't seen it. It's a really good segment. You can see it on the WWE YouTube channel. So it's really good. But there's just a lot of like little subliminal messages that can go a lot of ways. And to be honest with you, let's be real. WWE probably doesn't even know what route they're going to go just yet. One thing that I think is a safe prediction, they're going to set up Roman versus Rock. Now, is it going to be next Mania or is it going to be at a Saudi event? Who knows? If I were to guess or, do an educated guess, I would say it's going to be Mania because I think what's going to happen is they're going to use the time in between this next WrestleMania to next WrestleMania to slowly build that Rock and Roman feud. Now, what I don't know is I don't know how Roman's contract looks for this year. I'm not too involved in that or keep up too much with that. I think the only thing I know is that Drew McIntyre hasn't signed his contract yet. And honestly, I'm just keeping an eye on that because as long as he doesn't sign, he's not going to win the title at Mania, and I don't want him to win the title. I love Drew. I really do, but I'm just tired of seeing Seth versus Drew. That's just me. If you're a hardcore Drew fan, you want Drew to get his love, hey, that's fine. That's the whole point of wrestling, right? We have our favorites, we don't have our favorites. Again, I like Drew. He's a good guy. He's a good worker, phenomenal worker. He's great on the mic too. I'm just tired of seeing Seth versus Drew. We saw it already twice, maybe 3 times this last year. I don't want to see that at Mania. I would rather see some new blood. Even if Rollins wins. Me personally, I would like to see LA Knight. I know more than likely that might not happen, but it looks like. I mean, I think we'll know at Elimination Chamber, sorry, because we'll get to see if any feuds start. If LA is gonna fight Logan, then I think it'll set up something at Elimination. But that's another video to talk about. But anyways, I don't know too much about Roman's contract, so if he's gonna continue being a part timer, it would, in my humble opinion, it would make sense that they do set up The Rock and Roman for next Mania, because at that point, with Roman continuing to not make that many appearances, it can just slowly kind of build versus The Rock and and Roman for WrestleMania. My only concern with that angle, like, okay, so Cody wins, which let's hope to God he wins, because that's going to be too much if he loses. Like, that's going to be crazy. WWE will get so much shit. There's just no way. I know it can still happen, but man, if it does, that's crazy. So, okay, let's say Cody wins, which will be a great moment. I think what can probably happen is, Roman might come out a little bit after, and then maybe he'll get a rematch. It would, I mean, at that point, I don't know what would happen, right? Like, it would make sense for Cody to win again, so he can win the rematch, and then maybe the bloodline starts to kind of completely implode if it hasn't already imploded. By the time WrestleMania is over, right? But I think that's what's going to happen. That makes the most sense. I do think after Cody wins, there will be a rematch with Roman, just to kind of fully cement Cody and give him that 2-0 dub. Here's the win, and then he wins again, the rematch against Roman Reigns. And then after that, maybe they can slowly start to implode on the bloodline, and it can just slowly set up the feud with The Rock. Now, what I'm thinking also could happen is another prediction. I'm thinking The Rock actually is a secret agent, right? He's not really on the side of the bloodline, because again, I think a lot of y'all called it out on X and on Instagram, but basically The Rock, when he's doing the little finger thing with the bloodline at the end, it's more of like an L. So, a lot of people are taking that as, he's saying L for loser, like for the bloodline. And it's basically a little hint that he's going to go ahead and betray the bloodline or cost Roman Reigns the title, which I think could make sense because I do like that angle as well. Because what would end up happening would be The Rock would become a face again. Um, so basically after Mania, The Rock would become a face again, and then Roman can stay the heel, and then slowly build up to towards next WrestleMania. Because I really do believe that they're going to do WrestleMania with The Rock and Roman. I don't think they're going to do that at a Saudi show. I think the potential of that money grab and just being able to hype it up all year long and helping WrestleMania tickets sell out fast, I think that's just too good. So I think it makes the most sense to have it at a WrestleMania. And then that could even be The Rock's retirement match. Because for those of you that don't know, I mean, The Rock's already 55. So yeah, I mean, the guy looks great. He looks better shape than half the roster. But the truth is, he's not really conditioned to wrestle. I mean, again, I'm not a wrestler, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen, it takes a lot of conditioning. It takes a lot of cardio. It takes a lot of endurance. So it's not just about, having beach muscles and, it's a lot of conditioning. So my point would be the year would give The Rock time to prepare, practice, and get ready for their match so it can be a good banger. And then that could be The Rock's retirement match. Again, because The Rock by then will already be 56, 57, you know what I'm saying? So that just makes the most sense. And also, I mean, look, a lot of people need to also think of this too. Like Roman Reigns is not getting any younger. I mean, none of us are, right? But he again, another guy that's in great shape, looks younger than his age, but really he's already 38, if I'm not mistaken. 38, 39. Last time I checked, he was 38. I don't know if by now he's 39, but he's still 38. So you got to think, like in 10 years, right? He's going to be like, kind of like in a similar role as maybe The Rock, where Roman Reigns might be a legend already. I mean, he's already a legend, but you know what I mean? Like one of those iconic legends that just come out for special appearances, because by then he's going to be 50. And I mean, I don't think Roman wants to wrestle consistently towards 50. He might just have a couple, maybe 3 to 5 years left. And that's if we're lucky. Again, the guy's in great shape. He's still young. I'm not saying he's old by any means, but I'm just saying you do the math in 10 years, he's going to be 48. So he's going to be a lot closer to what The Rock's age is right now. So you got to think of that too. Again, not saying that his run's almost done. So please don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying his run's about to run out. He's going to retire next year. I'm just saying 10 years from now, like there's no way The Rock will be able to have that match because at that point, The Rock will be 65, 66. Like no way. So it just makes sense for The Rock and Roman to just fully prep their match and have it next WrestleMania for WrestleMania 41 and then kind of just be his retirement match. But that's another good angle that they can go, which I really do like because it'd be a nice flow to it. The only other thing, that I can really think of is obviously Cody wins and maybe Roman goes into, his little part-time, on and off hiatus. And me personally, I think this is actually the angle I would prefer. Maybe not a lot of you would prefer this, but I know a lot of you are kind of tired of the bloodline angle. I think it reached its peak when Sami Zayn was there with them and the whole implosion happened. But I actually think a better angle would be that the bloodline doesn't implode yet. So what I could see happening also is The Rock doesn't screw over Cody, right? He just, Cody just ends up legitimately being able to pin Roman. And what ends up happening is since, obviously Roman Reigns is a part-timer, he's going to continue doing his whole schmick of, well, I'll be back or, I'll be back in a month or two, whatever. And even though The Rock would probably be a part-timer too, I could see The Rock coming in when Roman's not around, right? And kind of taking lead of the bloodline, kind of saying, hey, well, Roman's not here. You do what I do, kind of like I'm kind of like the leader filling in. And then what ends up happening is that kind of sets up that feud throughout this coming year where Roman it starts a feud with Roman and The Rock where it's like, what do you think you're doing? Like, hey, yo, I'm the head of the table, not you. And it's like The Rock's like, well, you haven't been here. I'm the head of the table, you know? And that could be the perfect feud. And then Roman obviously would win, right? Because we all know Roman's going to win on that match. The Rock versus Roman, whenever it happens, we all know Roman's going to win. There's no way The Rock wins. Which again, it's you want that match because it's going to be a dream match, not so much for the outcome. You want it for the storytelling and you want it for the event. And then after that, you know, again, depending on how much time Roman has left or what they're going to do with him. Because again, Roman, like I said, don't put words in my mouth. Roman still he's still in great shape. He's still very young. He still could wrestle for years. But I'm just saying, like, The Rock's perspective, the time is now. So, and then maybe they can do a different angle. So I don't know. Those are kind of my predictions of what can happen. I think the most obvious one that everyone's talking about is the middle one where, you know, The Rock screws Roman and not Cody. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it's a really great time to be a wrestling fan. But I really want to know what you guys think. I've been talking about this with all my buddies here. So it's just been a really interesting talk. So please feel free to comment what you think. And like I mentioned in the beginning, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. It'll really help motivate me in putting out some more content for you guys, just so we can have some discussions. I do have some other videos on the channel talking about other stuff. So if you like power scaling and what if scenarios, definitely check out my my channel. I think there's a little bit of something for everybody. But hey, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.